And that is an exhausting stage, right? Because it just feels like you're carrying around this 1,000 pound weight with you. And in your perspective, no one else is. All right. Hey, my friends. Welcome to this episode. And today I want to talk about the 4 real kind of sections of recovery, or I guess kind of areas of recovery, and how most people really just settle kind of for stage 2, when really the biggest growth in your life is going to happen with stage 3 and 4. And I'm going to go into those in this episode and talk about what those are. So if we don't know each other yet, my name is Matt Codde, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker and the founder of Restored Minds. And before we dive in, if you could help our channel out by liking, subscribing, and leaving a nice review on iTunes and Spotify, I'd really appreciate it, as it helps the algorithm and helps get this to more people. Also, if you're looking for resources and help, we have some great links down in the notes below. And we also have our new app coming out here shortly, so please stay tuned to that. And if you're not on our list, please join it to be notified. So what are the real 4 stages of recovery? And really, when I'm talking about stages here, I'm talking about kind of internal experiences, right? So most people know that have lived with this loop or have been in this loop. There's the first stage of surviving. This is when you are just looking for relief, or you're keeping your head above water. You are being bombarded with symptoms, and you are just basically trying to get by. You're just getting through the day, metaphorically. And that is an exhausting stage, right? Because it just feels like you're carrying around this 1,000 pound weight with you. And in your perspective, no one else is. So it's a very heavy stage, very overwhelming. And, which once you start to do some work on yourself, whether it's, again, learning AAA response, implementing different various tools, you wind up kind of in the second stage, which is a more stabilized and functioning stage. Now, this stage, again, I'm managing, it's different than surviving because it feels significantly lighter. You still are dealing with things. You're still worried about things happening. You're worried about setbacks. You're worried about symptoms showing up. It subtly is just going on in the back of your mind. But like I said, it's significantly lighter than the survival stage. Now, what most people do is they kind of oscillate between these 2 stages, right? So they're in survival, they're in panic, they take some kind of action, and they see improvement to make them ultimately functional. And then they get complacent, or they kind of stop and they say, oh, this is good enough, because moving from stage 2 to stage 3 to stage 4 often looks very scary from this particular stage. And it looks significantly better than where you were. So the mind has this weird way of kind of assuming like, this is probably what recovery is, or this is pretty good. And they kind of settle for this stage. And then when you settle for this stage, you fall back into poor practices of avoiding emotion, right? Ruminating, and it kind of builds over time, right? And what happens is your emotional tank kind of fills up, and then you find yourself back into survival. And then, in this, so people will go through episodes, they'll call them. Really what an episode is you kind of oscillating back from stage 2 to stage 1, and then stage 1 to stage 2. So those 2 stages are where I'd say the overwhelming majority of people who experience OCD and anxiety kind of just move in between. Now, you may find that you are able to hold functional and stable for, a greater period of time, and then you get out of the survival in a shorter period of time, which again is great. And again, this is not any judgment, by the way. This is just my observation. I know I did this for a long time, and I'm trying to just more shine light on this, because when you don't know stage 2 or 3, it's easy to assume stage 2 is as good as it gets. No pun intended to throw that movie in there with Jack Nicholson about OCD, but here we are. But because it's significantly lighter than the survival stage, it's easy to kind of like, okay, this must be what like recovery is, and I'm doing much better, right? So that's a common language that I will hear from people that move into stage 2 is I'm doing a lot better. And it's like, you are. Compared to survival, it is significantly better. But it's nowhere near where you could be. And I think that's one of the things that I really want to stress in this particular episode is like, okay, well, let's talk about like, what is optimized you? So let's actually jump to stage 4, because that'll be kind of fun. Stage 4 is optimized. Stage 4 is I live free. And what free looks like is fear doesn't have any hold on me, right? I don't wonder if intrusive thoughts are going to show up. I don't worry that panic or fear or anxiety may show up on my vacation. I don't live in the mind. Fear is not a driving factor for me. I would argue that, most of my life is lived like that. Now, it doesn't mean that pockets of fear don't show up. Of course they do in varying parts of my life. But I want to talk about the difference because I know that there was a long period of time where I lived in a more stabilized way to where I really started to kind of focusing on moving towards an optimization. And again, I want to be clear that we can oscillate in these stages, right? It's not like you just get to one and stay there. But my objective for myself is to live a more optimized version of myself. And what that means is like, if there's fear that I know exists in my life that is, controlling an aspect of my life, the first thing that we have to do is be honest about that. We have to stop minimizing it and stop writing it off. Well, yeah, you know what? I was way better than where I was. And it's like, well, no, like this fear is impacting my life. This fear kind of has a grip on me. This fear takes my awareness away when I'm trying to be in a meeting at work. This, I have these kind of just background noise just always going. And the gap from there to there, right, is really where stage 3 is. So going into stage 4 though, right, this is when you're going to be living primarily from these fields of trust, from peace, from acceptance, from like love, right? You're going to be in these higher states of consciousness, and in these states of consciousness, the world just looks different to you. What you used to see as scary, what even the way you perceive thought is just radically different. It's an entirely different world. And once I begin to understand the planes of consciousness, it really is, my true belief is that we all live in essentially the same world, but we have entirely different experiences. And so when I say you live in a new world, you live in an experience that is so polar to living in fear that oftentimes it's like, you wonder like, man, how did I ever perceive things that way? I look back on myself when I was really in the loop, when I was about, 19, 20, right? Really that period of my life, just lost completely. And it seems like a lifetime ago. It really is not. But it's like the way I saw the world back then, it looked real when I was experiencing it. It's not like it looked real. And I know that when you're in the loop or when you're in stage 1 or stage 2, it looks real. Stage 2 looks and your mind convinces you that this could be it. This is good enough. But what I'm trying to really accomplish in this episode is like, don't stop at stage 2. Like really aim for what's available, which is like freedom from fear. Like you not living in this sense of expected dread or worried about life, like really moving in this place where you trust life, where you love life. When you get up and you're like, man, like life is an amazing thing. And I trust life. I trust to co-create with it. I trust my creator, right? And I really move into a place with a stillness and rest and trust. Because when you really trust, it's not you just saying you trust. This is a big old way people deceive themselves. Is like, no, people say, well, yeah, I trust life. I trust God. I trust my creator, right? And then they're terrified. So a lot of times I use this analogy to really communicate what trust feels like. And what I do is I say, okay, I want you to think about when I want you to think about what you do to make the sun rise in the morning. And I know the sun doesn't actually rise. It's, rotating Earth. But to really have the Earth keep rotating then, or have the sun rise, make sure that the oceans don't evaporate because it gets too hot. Something like that, something grand. And I want you to think about what you do to control that. And the answer for most of you is going to be, well, I don't do anything. I rest in the trust that it's just going to be taken care of. That's what trust is. And that can be the majority of your life. So how do we get from 2 to 4? And that's really where the expansion, re-engagement, and growth stage happens. And contrary to what people think, the biggest growth happens from 2 to 4, not 1 to 2. 1 to 2 is probably 20% of the journey. That 70%, right? From 2 to 3, and then obviously in 4 you can grow and optimize even more. So we'll give it a 10% there. But that 70% is that 2 to 3 journey. That's the journey that I love walking with people on, that I love coaching people through, because it's so far beyond what they think their capacity is. And you get to watch like new horizons open up, because what expansion requires is for you to go to the edge and expand past it. For you to realize, okay, where is fear still operating here? And how do I reclaim that territory in my life? How do I challenge the borders of what I think is possible for myself? And when you start to become stable and you start to learn the skills to go from survival to stable, we start to expand those into every domain in our life. Sure, our themes, but also just how we handle our emotions, and then our expanding emotions, right? So it's not just how do we handle fear and anxiety. What do we do with anger? What do we do with guilt? What do we do with shame? What do we do with desire, pride, sadness, despair, grief? How do we handle all of that? And are we carrying stuff that needs to still be released? And then as you release more, you start to get more capacity, more energy to confront new barriers in your life. So if there's, like in stabilizing, you might take a job in stabilizing and that job might serve you perfectly. But once you start growing, you may outgrow the job, in which case you need to rethink your relationship with work or the job that you want to do, the career you want to do. Then you start to challenge your relationship with finances or how you show up in your relationships. You grow in every domain of your life. Like that is what is exciting work to me. Because as you grow and you grow and you grow and you grow, you start to reach the planes of optimizing yourself. Maslow called self-actualization, what Jung called integration. And all of a sudden you find yourself existing in a world that looks polar opposite to the one that you were in when you were in survival and stabilizing. And the main message that I want to communicate today is there is a vast difference between stage 2 and stage 4. And that gap in stage 3 where we walk through that is where growth happens that allows you to become a person that stage 1, stage 2 would never even recognize. And more importantly, as you do more of this work, you don't fear backsliding into stage 1 or stage 2. Because eventually it's like enough growth happens where that's like I'm not going to say it's not possible, but it's very unlikely. And when we focus just on stabilizing, it's like if all we're doing is trying to stabilize and function and think that that's good enough, it's like eventually that's going to lead to backsliding, because just like anything else in life, if you aren't growing, you're dying. Okay? And this is just a harsh reality of life. If something's not growing, it's already dying. If your relationship, if your marriage, if your intimate relationship is not growing, is not becoming, it's not expanding, is not becoming a better thing, it's dying. If your business is not growing, it's dying. If your, health, if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. We don't live in a stagnant universe. We live in a moving, expanding universe. And that's why expansion needs to be part of your process. It needs to be something that you decide to move into, because shooting for stabilization is a great goal when you're in stage 1, but when you get there, you have to keep going, or else you'll revert back to stage 1 and you'll just move in and out. And that's what I see happen with a lot of people, is why they have these, quote, episodes, is because they'll just get to stable and then they'll engage in behaviors that just try to maintain stabilizing, right? So they'll often set up very specific routines, try to keep their life very predictable, because as not to trigger things or to overwhelm them or to bring up thoughts or feelings they don't want. But eventually that just doesn't work. That's not a long-term recovery mentality. So stage 3 and 4 are really where we push the envelope. We expand the horizon, we grow, we expand and expand and expand. And eventually we expand to the point where we start to move in optimization. And that happens internally. And then that internal optimization and integration then just kind of bleeds into every aspect of your life. You start to see just like glaring areas of your life where like, I need to take ownership of that. I need to correct that, And the thing is like, it can seem like it's a lot. It can seem like it's overwhelming, but like the fruit of that work is, unquantifiable. You can't even begin to put a number of worth on it. Because to go from stabilizing to truly living from like trust, to truly feeling like trusting when you wake up and you go about your day and something happens in your life and you actually feel completely trusting that it will resolve and that you don't need to worry and ruminate and fear, and you don't even need to get into that state. I can't put words to it other than like you can only experience it for yourself, and once you do, you'll never want to go back. So I wanted to just shine light on this today. I hope it was helpful. And if you're in stage 1, stage 2, and you're interested in that arc, that journey, what I want you to understand is like, don't put a timetable to that journey either. It's like, this is the most important work you can ever do in your life. And so if you're interested in that, fill out an application for TBC, because that's what we walk people through. That's what we want for you. We don't want you just to stabilize. We don't want you to cope, to manage. We want you to become the best version of you that you can be. So we have some links down in the notes. You can head over to restoredminds.com to learn more as well. And with that, wishing you a great day and a great week, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Hey there, this is Matt Codde, and I just want to say thank you for taking the time to watch that episode. And if you found it helpful, we have some other episodes available for you as well that we've linked here. And if you're looking for additional resources, I have links down in the notes, or you can head over to restoredminds.com/start to get started with some new free resources that we have available. Thanks so much, and look forward to seeing you soon.